Okay, so I moved it so that so that I am not cutting off the circulation in my feet. Okay, so tomatoes. Tomatoes are a little bit trickier. This bag just has a couple of tomato seeds in it. I have no idea what they are, but I decided to stick them in. This one is listed as early and small, listed as a 4th of July tomato. Now remember that tomatoes do not cross easily. Some of them will, some of them won't. This one is a mixed paste. Some of those tomatoes were large, some of them were small, some of them only produced a few, some of them produced amazingly, some of them were grown in sand at a friend's property. She has a large family. She usually plants a large garden. Life happened and she was not able to take care of her garden. So everything that grew in her garden grew in sand, with no water, no care, no fertilizer, nothing. So anything that grew in her garden is basically a treasure for anyone who is growing in sand. Whether they will grow in clay, I don't know. This one is a beefsteak. It's mixed beefsteak. Anything that's labeled as beefsteak goes in that category. This one is red with a purple stripe. Now, as a general rule, I do not like purple tomatoes. I do not like purple topped tomatoes. I do not like purple striped tomatoes. They just do not taste right to me. This one not only does not taste right, did not taste right to me. Again, this is my personal preference. It did not taste right. It did not peel. So peeling it was, I lost a lot of the fruit while peeling this particular type. So I am putting that in the do not grow pile. This one was my first large tomato grown in Kansas. So it would have been grown, again, with no water, no fertilizer, but in clay soil. I don't remember whether this one was grown under the wood chips or whether it was grown in the dry garden. But there we go. Okay, this one's a yellow pear tomato, so it's going in that category as well. I did have an accidental yellow pear tomato last fall, and it dropped at least one fruit, so we'll see if those come back. This is called Q12. It's a Q12 category. This is a Joseph Lofthouse promiscuous tomato. They're supposed to have exerted stamens, so that exerted outside of the yellow cone in the flower, so that they cross-pollinate more easily. The one that survived actually had an inverted. The stigma was inside the cone, so it would not have cross-pollinated. But this was the earliest tomato. They're about an inch to an inch and a half in diameter, so they're a small tomato. But this one grew early, produced early, survived through the summer, and produced until fall frost. So this is something that I want to grow in the future. I'm just not sure if they will be grown this year. This one is a small sweet cherry tomato, and I don't know what kind, but it tasted better to me than any other cherry tomato I have ever grown. So if that grows, I will spread some seeds out and let it do its own thing. I won't grow it deliberately, but if it continues to come back on its own, then I will definitely keep it. This one is listed as black vermissage. Again, a dark tomato. I'm putting it in the do not grow list, do not grow category. Black Krim. I'm putting it in the do not grow category. Now these are seeds Japanese black. These are seeds that I have grown. These are tomatoes that I have grown that I did not like the flavor, or I did not like something else about them. Just that purple just does not seem to work very well for me. This is a Q12 tomato. I should put this in here. I'm hoping that some of the Q12 will come up on their own because a lot of fruit dropped. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. This one is a possible Roma indeterminate Kansas grown. So that's a paste. That'll go in the paste category. I did not indicate on this one whether it was a beefsteak or not. So we'll leave that for now. Okay, this one's a Big Hill tomato. This is another Joseph Lofthouse tomato, but I planted some and they did not survive. They survived until transplant, but did not survive in my soil. So I do want to grow some more of those at some point, but not this year. And these are all upside down. Why did I put them in upside down? This is a mixed group. I'll set that aside. White Tomasol tomato. I'm not sure. I probably do need to grow that one. Tomato Volunteer from the seed box. We'll put that one over here as well. Actually, no. Let's put that one over here. Dryland Tomato, Kansas. So this one did grow in the dry garden and produced enough to produce seeds in the dry garden. So we'll put that there. This one is listed as Brandywine, and it did produce quite well. So we'll put it in here. This one's listed as Kellogg's Breakfast. It's a large, if I remember correctly anyway, it's a large orange tomato. Let's put it here for now. This was from an Italian tomato that was given to me by my brother, who got it from a man who brought it back from the First World War. He brought it back from Italy after the First World War. So, and he's grown it in his garden ever since, or had at the time grown it in his garden ever since. So that's an Italian tomato. It's a large vining tomato. Excellent fruiter. This is another Joseph Lofthouse tomato. It's Jogodka. It's supposed to be the earliest. It's also red, and it's a determinate. So I want to try that one again. Last year, they all died after transplant. This is a large yellow. Outside edge, I'll put right here. I don't know what that tomato was. I just listed where it grew. This is called a delicious tomato. I think that's the name of the tomato, not the variety, not a commentary on the taste. But I did not grow that. This is Mortgage Lifter, and I think I will put Mortgage Lifter in this category for now. All right, so this was a white tomato. Again, these are all 2025, so these are grown in my garden. Okay, so this one is a large yellow-orange Copia. This is Copia. This one has never grown in my garden yet. And this is Random Large Red. So I'm going to take the large, I'm going to take this large This one must have grown in the dry garden because there's only a few seeds here. Okay, I'm going to put the 24 seeds in the 25 bag because this did say it was a large red. Okay. All right, so that was a large red. That one just says tomato. So we'll put that one in that category for the moment. This one says unknown. That fell out of the bag. Okay. This one was, I told you about the friend who wasn't able to take care of her garden this year. She has a neighbor who always grows a specific tomato, and it does very, very well in his soil. So she gave me some seeds for that one. This is called Casino, and again, last year I tried growing them, and they did not survive transplant. Actually, I think I will take that one and put it in this category over here. Okay, so this one says volunteer tomato, large indeterminate with meaty flesh. So I'm going to put that one over here in the volunteer category. So, and then the rest of this is random tomato seeds. A bunch of them probably fallen out. I'm going to take the seeds that have fallen here and stick them back in the random tomato seeds bottle. Okay, so we're going to take these, stick them back in the bottle. I really don't want the small tomatoes this year, so let's stick those back in the bottle. I don't know what this one is, so I'm going to stick that back in the bottle. Okay, so that was the dryland tomato. This is large red, and let's take a look at these. This is Casino. Unknown tomato seeds that fell out. Tomato. Mortgage lifter. Outside edge. Let's look at Casino for a minute. This is white Tomasol, and this is mixed. One is a Beefmaster beefsteak. I'm going to have to research these tomatoes and see if they fit in any particular category, because it's just a bunch of mixed tomatoes. Just random seeds stuffed in an envelope. So I need to research that. And I'll put that one right there. And I'll put the Casino back in here. Okay. Because I'm still figuring out and working out what's the best way to grow tomatoes here. Okay, so I'm going to take white Tomasol and this mixed tomato and put them back in the bottle as well. Okay, so this group over here, I'm going to plant a few just to see if they will volunteer and what they will do. Big Hill volunteers. These volunteered themselves. I'm assuming that's a small tomato. I'm going to volunteer the Q12. That should already be volunteered out there, so I'm going to put that back in the white bottle, or back in the bottle. This is a small sweet cherry. I think I will plant some more of those and just stick them in the ground outside and see what happens. And this one was also a volunteer tomato. So this group right here, I'll plant a few out in the garden in a specific area, just to make sure that they're not mixed with the other tomatoes. But I want them to grow and produce and fruit on their own if they're going to. So let's move that category over here. So we have the dryland tomato, Kansas. So here's we have random large red, dryland, Steve tomato. These are Copia. This one is a white, mixed white. So anything that was white, I put seeds in there. Large yellow, anything that was yellow, I put seeds in there. This was the Italian heirloom, Brandywine, Kellogg's Breakfast. The seeds are from 2017. leave it here for now, but beef steak. This is mixed beef steak. Possible Roma, indeterminate. Okay, I'm going to put this in the paste. Oh, it's got another envelope in it. Let's see what it says. It says Kansas Dry Paste 2024. Okay, and this one says Roma, free seeds. A mouse got into that package, which is why I put everything in bottles. Okay, so we've got a Kansas Dry Paste. That will go in here. We've got Possible Roma, and I'm going to try to get all of these seeds past the mouse hole. Okay. All right, so I'm going to mix the paste, Possible Romas. Okay, so that gets rid of that. Okay, so this is the paste. Delicious. I planted some of those last spring and none of them survived. So I think maybe I will wait on that one. And this is the Jagodka, but that's the early. Okay, so this is our set for this spring. Brandywine was a good producer. They were good tomatoes. I think I'm going to put the white away. They were good and they produced well, but I think I'm going to put the white away and go with the yellow in that piece. This is Copia. This is one that I have not grown before. This one has not survived here. Kellogg's Breakfast has not survived here. And Jagodka has not survived here. So, how do we want to work this? This is mixed beef steak, mixed paste, random large red, large yellow. Okay, so those two are identifiable heirlooms. And these are just, these top ones are just mixed. So random large red, large yellow, paste, and beef steak. I think I'm going to take random large red and put it back. In the bottle. I'm wondering about the Kansas Dryland tomato. I think I want to regrow that one. But we've got Brandywine and Italian, which we planted last year, and they did well. But beefsteak, paste, large yellow, dryland. Okay, so all of this has grown, except, you know, there's packages and stuff in there. But I've grown large yellow, I've grown paste, I've grown beefsteak. No, the large yellow were from my friend's garden. That's right. Most of the paste were as well. But, and the large yellow make really good tomatoes. But that was in sandy soil, so let's put that down here. Okay, so beefsteak, paste, dryland. I do want to do the Italian again. Let's take the Brandywine and put it back in the bottle. I do want to do the Italian again because I think that that one can adapt. I think they can all adapt. But I want to do a lot of canning. So let's use the paste and the beefsteak. Dryland, I'm iffy. I'm iffy on that. We've got lots of seeds. There are only a couple of seeds in here. There are maybe 20 seeds in this package. So I think I need to grow this one because it's already survived here. And this is the Jagodka. This was the earliest red. He says earliest red determinate, and I want to try some determinate tomatoes. Kellogg's Breakfast, this is all the seeds I've got, and they're from 2017. So, oops. So we've got over here, we've got large, we've got Copia, we've got large yellow. Let's take the large yellow. But we've got lots of seeds for the large yellow, so we can plant them another year. We don't have a lot of seeds for this one. And the Kellogg's Breakfast, that's all the seeds that I've got. So let's put the large yellow back in the box, back in the bottle. Now, the Copia, enormous red yellow beefsteak. Okay, so that's a beefsteak type. Lots of juice. Tons of seeds. Very little flesh. Terrible for sauce. Huh. So it's not a beefsteak. If it doesn't have if it has very little flesh, it is not a beefsteak. So this says large yellow orange huge bush. And I remember growing those. I thought they were a good beefsteak. The ones that I grew had a lot of flesh, very few seeds. So I wonder, let's see. Copia, if I do Copia, that would give us 8 varieties. I only did 6 last year. I do want to do the Italian. I want to do some paste. I want to do some beefsteak. But I also want to do the Dryland. Jagodka is the early red determinate. So that'll be early season. So we'll plant that early season. I want to get more seeds for the Dryland and grow that one out because I haven't grown that one out since I grew it in the dry garden. So Italian, paste, beefsteak, Copia. All right, I think I'm going to do these a little bit different. We've got Copia, Kellogg's Breakfast, and Jagodka. And then we've got the Steve tomato and the Dryland tomato. That's the red determinate. Okay, so that's 6 varieties. The Copia and the Kellogg's Breakfast, I think I will grow some, but I will plant them in a different area to see if they can survive dry. I want to see. Okay, so that's the volunteer pile. And then we have these 2, which will go in the dry area. And then 6 mixed beefsteak, mixed paste, Italian, Dryland, Steve tomato, and Jagodka. Now that's determinate. I don't think I have any other determinate tomatoes, but I definitely need to see if I can get more seeds from Kellogg's Breakfast and more seeds from the Copia. I need to find out if those make good beefsteak or paste or anything, so that I can add them into our mixes if necessary. So there's 2 testing. And then the Jagodka, the Steve tomato, which I basically want more seeds for it, and to test it and see if it'll fit in any of these other categories. As I remember, it's a smaller paste tomato, but it was like 2-3 inches long. So I'm not sure what variety it was, anything. And then the Dryland Kansas. So these, Kellogg's Breakfast and the Copia, those will be tests to see what they do. The Jagodka, I really, but when I planted that last year, none of them survived. None of those survived. Yeah, so I'll put that over here in a separate section. That'll give us 5. We have beefsteak, paste, Italian, dryland, and the Steve tomato. So that gives us 5. If we do 10 of each, that will give us 50, initially 50 plants. But I need to make sure that these survive because we don't have very many seeds here and we don't have very many seeds here. Don't have very many seeds on any of those 4. So if I can plant those closer to the house so that I can water them if necessary, take better care of them, and do these 4 in the main garden. Okay, so that gives us 4 for a special protection area and 4 for the main tomato area. And then the volunteer, or hopefully volunteer, category. All right. Because if I can get the tomatoes volunteering every year and actually growing and producing without my help, yay! That'll be fabulous. Okay, so I think this is what we're going to do. These 4 for the main garden, for the main tomato patch. These 4, probably just 2 or 3 of each. But I will plant them in native soil, in my clay soil, and keep them and not water them a lot. Specifically these, I will only water them, well, with all of them pretty much, but these specifically, I will only water them once a week in the seedling stage. And then, okay, so that gives us the tomatoes, and that is garbage. Okay, so where can I plant 4 varieties of tomatoes? The Dryland, the Steve tomato, the Jagodka, and Kellogg's Breakfast. Where can I put those? I think those can go in the garden boxes. So these 4, I think, will go in the garden boxes closest to the house. All right. And then these, of course, with only 4 varieties, not varieties, but 4 categories. I wanted to do 2 rows 8 feet apart. So if I do 2 rows 8 feet apart, for a total of 20 plants. If I do 5 of each, that's 20 plants. If I do 10 of each, that's 40 plants. That will give me plenty to cut out if they're not thriving. So if I do 40 plants here and then I do like 5 of each of these, that will work. Because if I do 40 plants here, and say a third of them don't survive transplant, you still have 30 plants, 25 plants. And then if 20 of them survive and thrive and produce, we've still got a good crop. But at the beginning, we add to, because they are mixed. These are various paste tomatoes, various beefsteak tomatoes. This one and this one are heirlooms, but there could be a huge variety in here. So right now, what I'm trying to do is find varieties that thrive here, as close as I can, varieties that are going to come up and produce. Now, last year, we had a very odd spring and a very odd summer, and fall had no water at all. So fall is when all of the tomatoes started to produce. I didn't get just about anything. I did with the Q12. I got Q12. It started to produce early. If I'm remembering right, it was like early August when I started getting tomatoes off of that, and it produced all the way through the heat of the summer and died with the first major frost. So it continued to produce that whole time. So that was good. But everything else pretty much started producing in September. And so there was 1 month, there was a period of 1 month, and then a little bit into October. So we'll just say 2 months. And then I had to strip the plants and bring all of the tomatoes in to ripen in the house. So if they start to produce earlier, what I'm going to do, the beefsteak and paste, what I will eventually end up doing is making deliberate crosses with various plants. Plants that thrive here, I will cross them deliberately. This won't be this year because I'm still working on which varieties are best, which varieties do best with no water, no fertilizer, clay soil. They die in the heat of the summer, or do they pop back and start producing in the fall? Do they produce early and then stop during the heat and continue during the fall? Do they produce early and then die? Do they just struggle along all the way through the summer and then produce in the fall? All of these things make a difference. So what we want is to develop varieties that will produce early and produce late. Whether they produce during the heat of the summer, that's something that would be nice, but it's not necessarily necessary. So I know that these have produced in my garden. This one's produced in my garden. This one will be a test, but we'll put it in the main garden in any case. So I will do 10 of each of these and 5 of each of these, and we will see what produces. With this test, with these, if they produce, then they will be added into whichever category they fit in the following year. If I remember correctly, Kellogg's Breakfast is a orange. I think Kellogg's Breakfast is an orange. Let's see if I wrote anything down here. Kellogg's Breakfast large orange. Okay. So Kellogg's Breakfast is a large orange. If it produces well in my garden, in my conditions, then I think it's a beefsteak, so it would probably go in the beefsteak. I know it's not a paste. If the Jagodka, it says earliest red determinate, if that produces in the spring, produces well in the spring and early summer, great. If this one, if the Steve tomato produces, if I remember correctly, it's a paste, about 2 to 3 inches long. My brain is saying San Marzano, but I'm not sure that that's accurate. But if I remember correctly, that's what that one is. So again, if it produces well and I get a lot of seeds, then I will put it in whichever category it fits in. And then the Dryland Kansas tomato, it survived and fruited with no water in clay soil with 100+ degree temperatures. So it's strong. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. This is my volunteer group. Let's put the lid on here. I'm going to try to encourage these to volunteer. I'm not going to start them. I'm going to take them outside and I'm going to put them in the soil and let them do their thing. I already have one row that is dedicated to volunteer tomatoes, so I will add them into that row and just mark what I put where. But in any case, these 4, I will do 5 of each. These 4, I will do 10 of each. That should give me plenty. Should give me plenty of tomatoes to bottle and eat fresh. But as I've said before, no water, no fertilizer, no special treatment. If they come up and thrive and produce, great. If they don't, then, which is what part of the reason why I want these to be the main crop, because I already know that they will produce under those conditions. So I've gotten seeds from these 3 without a problem. This one will be more questionable, but I've got extra seeds if I need to replant at another time. Okay. All right. I think that is our plan for this year for the tomatoes. I will talk with you later.